My name is Emily Carter. I'm 33 years old, live alone in a small apartment in Seattle, and up until 3 nights ago, I believed my family loved me. I was standing barefoot in the kitchen when it happened, chopping red peppers for dinner, the smell of garlic still on my fingertips. My phone buzzed once on the counter. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, glanced at the screen. Aunt Denise sent a video. At first, I assumed it was something harmless. Maybe an old family clip she found on Facebook, or one of her corny videos about manifesting abundance. I tapped it casually, half focused, half annoyed at the clunky way she always filmed vertically. But then, Emily should be grateful. My mother's voice cut in, unmistakable, cool and dismissive. She'd be nothing without us. The air left my lungs. My thumb paused mid-scroll. I thought, no way she just said that. But the voices kept going. A pathetic failure. That's what she is, my father said, chuckling. But hey, at least she's good for something, paying our bills. Laughter followed. The video was shaky, like someone had set the phone down on a table without realizing it was recording. But the audio was painfully clear. Every syllable landed like glass against my skin. If Emily ever stops sending money, Aunt Denise added with that snide little smirk in her tone, we'll just guilt her into it. She's too soft to say no. I don't remember breathing. My fingers clenched around the phone. I wasn't watching strangers gossip on TikTok. This was my family, my parents, my own blood, talking about me like I was some pathetic little piggy bank too stupid to close her legs or her wallet. Then ping. This message has been unsent. I blinked. The screen went blank. No video. Just a quiet void. Like the universe trying to gaslight me. Aunt Denise realized she'd sent it to the wrong person. Me. And she'd panicked. Deleted it. Thought maybe I hadn't seen it. She was wrong. I had seen everything. I should have called her. Confronted her. Sent a message saying, I heard what you said. Every single word. But I didn't. Instead, I stood in the kitchen, frozen. I placed my phone back on the counter as if it were made of glass. My heart pounded behind my ribs like it was trying to punch its way out. I think I stood there for 10, maybe 15 minutes, just watching my reflection in the microwave door. And then something in me shifted. For the first time in years, I didn't cry. I didn't apologize. I didn't tell myself they were joking or that it was taken out of context. Because deep down, I already knew the truth. They meant it. All of it. I've paid their rent, covered their credit card debt, put my brother through community college. He never even finished. Bought my mother a necklace for her birthday she said wasn't her style, but kept anyway. I've done all of it with a smile because that's what a good daughter does. Right? That's what you do when you grew up being told that love is transactional. That worth comes from how useful you are. But that night, everything cracked. I saw the truth laid bare. Ugly. Unfiltered. They don't love me. Not in the way I always hoped they did. They tolerate me. They use me. And worst of all, they mock me for it. The next morning, the world looked the same. The coffee maker hissed and sputtered. Sunlight stretched across my kitchen floor in soft, golden lines. But I moved through the day like I was wearing someone else's skin. At 9:42 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Mom. Morning, sweetie. Just checking in. Hope you're well. I stared at it for a long time. Too normal. Way too normal. She never texts just to check in. There's always a follow-up. 2 minutes later. Mom. Oh, BTW rent is due soon. Can you send it by Friday? Thanks. Love. There it was. The mask slipping. She didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't ask how work was going. Didn't even say please. Just send money. As usual, my fingers hovered over the keyboard. Normally, I'd say, of course, or sorry I forgot. Maybe even apologize for not sending it sooner. But this time, I typed just 3 words. I can't this month. Then I hit send. I expected my hands to shake, for the shame to flood in. But all I felt was quiet. A strange, unfamiliar stillness. I put my phone down, took a sip of lukewarm coffee, let the silence stretch. Then the screen lit up again. Mom. What do you mean you can't? Mom. Emily. This is serious. We're counting on you. You know we don't have another option right now. Another buzz. This time from Aunt Denise. Aunt Denise. Hey, sweetie. Your mom is freaking out a bit. Everything okay? I nearly laughed. The hypocrisy was so thick I could choke on it. Everything okay? Yeah. Everything was peachy. I had been paying their bills for years, and the first time I hinted at stopping, the mask dropped. No concern for me. No. Are you sick? Or are you in trouble? Just. Where's our rent check? Failure. Me. I have some unexpected expenses this month. Can't send anything. Sorry. Simple. Cold. Final. No apology. No explanation. No emoji. I put my phone face down on the table. My hands were steady. My chest oddly calm. It took them 5 minutes to respond. Mom, what could possibly be more important than your family? There it was. The guilt trip. Delivered with precision. It wasn't about money. It was about obedience. Then another one. Mom, your brother has no way to cover rent. If he gets evicted. That's on you. Yes. The brother card. Classic. Followed by the nuclear strike. Mom, we raised you. Emily, we took care of you when you had nothing. Is this how you repay us? I stared at the screen. They took care of me. I put myself through college with scholarships and night shifts. I shared a bedroom with mold on the ceiling while Dad spent unemployment checks on whiskey. The only thing they ever gave me was guilt, and an endless reminder that I was never enough. My phone lit up again. Aunt Denise. Sweetheart, don't do this. We're family. Your mom is just stressed. Just send the rent, and it'll all go back to normal. That's when I realized normal was the problem. Normal was me bleeding so they could stay warm. Normal was me being the designated punching bag with a checkbook. Normal was never asking why my love had to come with a receipt. I opened my notes app, started typing out a draft email. A list. Really. Everything I've paid for. Every favor. Every phone call I answered at 2 a.m. Ma. Every time I postponed a vacation. Missed a dental appointment. Dipped into savings just so they could survive another month. But I didn't send it. Not yet. I saved it as a draft and stared at the screen. There was something powerful about holding your truth back just long enough to sharpen it. In the corner of my bookshelf sat a velvet jewelry box. The birthday necklace I bought for my mother last year. A Tiffany chain I couldn't afford, but bought anyway to prove I loved her. Still unopened. Still in its original bag. Still waiting for gratitude that never came. That box had been there for 8 months. She never even took it out. Suddenly, it looked less like a gift and more like a symbol of everything I was done being. And just like that, I knew. They thought they were still holding the knife, but I was the one holding the truth, and I wasn't going to stay quiet forever. They started the fire, but I'm the one holding the match. Next payment's due in 3 days. And I have a plan. Let's just say They're about to learn what too soft to say no really looks like. Most people think betrayal comes with a bang, a dramatic argument, a slam door. But in my case, it came wrapped in silence, in tiny, polite texts, in fake concern followed by subtle demands. The next morning, I walked into my office like nothing had happened. On the outside, I was still the same Emily buttoned shirt, oat milk latte in hand, planner tucked under one arm. But inside, I felt like someone had peeled my skin off and left everything raw. That's when Riley spotted me. "Whoa," she said, narrowing her eyes. "You look like you haven't slept since 2012. I forced a laugh. "Rough night." She raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess your family again." I didn't answer right away. Riley was one of those rare coworkers who actually listened, not just waited for her turn to speak. She was born in Oregon, raised by a single mom who worked in construction and called BS faster than anyone I knew. She was also the first person in my life who ever said, "Emily, just because they're blood doesn't mean they're entitled to your peace." I used to brush her off. Thought maybe I was being dramatic. Now, I wasn't so sure. Later that afternoon, I sat in the break room nursing a cup of lukewarm tea. Riley plopped down beside me with a Tupperware full of leftover chili and zero subtlety. "So, spill. You've got that look again. Like you just realized your whole life is built on wet cardboard." I gave her a sideways glance. "Did your mom ask for more money?" "Rent," I said quietly. "Due Friday." "Again." She didn't even blink. "And you said—" I told her I couldn't. She paused, spoon halfway to her mouth. "Holy crap! You actually said no." I nodded. She let out a low whistle. "Look at you, breaking the cycle." "I thought she'd freak out," I said. And she did. But you know what's worse? "What?" She didn't ask if I was okay. Just jumped straight to guilt tripping. Like clockwork. Riley leaned back in her chair and studied me for a second. "You ever read that article about how emotional labor gets dumped on women, like it's part of our job description?" I raised an eyebrow. "You're gonna have to narrow it down." "That's like half the internet." She smirked. "Point is, this isn't just your family. This is generational. It's cultural. People expect women, especially daughters, to be the emotional accountants of the family. You're not selfish for opting out." That word hit me. Opting out. As if love was a contract I could choose to end. And for the first time, I realized maybe I could. That night, I opened the drawer where I kept all the mail. I didn't have the courage to throw away. There were birthday cards from my mom, always signed. "Love, Mom. Never, I'm proud of you." There were old receipts for the credit card debt I'd paid off when Dad lost his job, $300 at Best Buy, $680 at some liquor store. There was a copy of the check I wrote for my brother's tuition. He never even showed up to orientation. Each paper was its own kind of bruise. Together, they formed a pattern. This wasn't support. This was exploitation in a cardigan. I pulled out my laptop, opened that draft email I'd written, started adding to the list. But I didn't just want to vent. I wanted clarity. Proof for myself more than anyone else that I wasn't crazy, that I didn't imagine it. So I clicked over to my cloud storage, opened the auto backup folder for media. And there it was. The video. The one Aunt Denise had tried to unsend. She had deleted it from the chat. But my phone had already saved it in the background. 38 seconds. Shaky footage. Crystal clear voices. I watched it again. Slower this time. Paused at the moment my father called me a pathetic failure. Watched my mother nod. Sipping wine. And there at the 0:24 mark, Aunt Denise looked directly at the camera. She had known it was recording. Her smirk was too practiced, too aware, which meant this wasn't an accident. She didn't send it to me by mistake. She wanted me to see it. But why? That's when the second realization hit me. What if they were testing me? What if the whole thing was a way to break me down just enough so I'd keep paying out of fear? Out of guilt. After all, what do you do with an obedient little daughter whose spine is just beginning to grow back? You crush her before it's too late. But this time, they miscalculated. The next day, I visited my mom's Facebook profile. I hadn't checked it in months. Right there, under family photos, was a picture from last Thanksgiving. There I was, holding a tray of stuffing, smiling awkwardly, standing off to the side. The caption read, "So grateful for our little family, especially Derek, who's always been there for us." No mention of me. Not even a tag. I zoomed in and saw the necklace. The Tiffany necklace I bought her last year. The one still unopened in its box at my place. She must have gone out and bought herself a second one. To match the lie, that night, I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I wrote in a journal. Not a notes app. Not an email draft. A real, spiral-bound journal with pen and paper. And I wrote the words. They don't love me for who I am. They love me for what I give them. And that's not love. That's control. Underneath it, I wrote a single question. If I stopped giving, who would I be to them? It haunted me, because I already knew the answer. The next morning, I woke up with my heart pounding like I'd run a marathon in my sleep. Rent day was 2 days away. Normally, I'd set a reminder on my phone, log into my bank, transfer $850 to my mom's account without a second thought. But this time, I let the reminder sit there. Didn't swipe it away. Didn't snooze it. Just let it glow. A symbol of everything I used to do automatically. Now, it burned, and I felt more awake than I had in years. Later that evening, Riley came over with Thai takeout and no small talk. She took one look at the unopened wine on the counter and said, "All right, what are we burning today?" I laughed. For real this time. I handed her the folder of old receipts and printouts. We took them out to the tiny balcony, lit them, one by one, in a ceramic bowl I usually use for succulents. The smoke curled into the night, like little ghosts being released. Each flame was a different version of me. The obedient daughter, the apologizer, the human ATM. Riley didn't say anything. Just sat next to me as we watched the last piece turn to ash. Friday was coming, and I had a plan. They thought silence meant weakness, but I was about to show them. It meant strategy. It meant power. And this time, I wasn't playing by their rules. Not anymore. Friday arrived like a storm, pretending to be a drizzle quiet. But you could feel the pressure in the air. I woke up before my alarm. My apartment was still dark. Seattle gray leaking in through the blinds. I sat up in bed and stared at the ceiling, heart thudding like it was counting down to something. Today was the day rent was due. The Emily from 3 months ago would have sent it first thing, double-checked the amount, maybe even thrown in a little extra just in case. But not this version. This version of me stared at the untouched Tiffany box on the dresser, the one my mother never opened, and thought, this isn't rebellion. This is correction. By noon, my phone started buzzing. Mom 9, 13 a.m. Rent. Mom 11, 07 a.m. Emily, you said you'd help. Mom 11, 58 a.m. Your brother called the landlord. They need the payment today or we get a late fee. Can you hurry? She wasn't even pretending anymore. No greetings. No love you. Just urgency. Expectation. Pressure. It wasn't even subtle. I was the mule. The machine. The backup generator they didn't bother to thank until it went offline. I poured myself a cup of coffee, added oat milk, and sat on the couch like I had all the time in the world. Because I did. They were the ones racing against the clock, not me. Around 12:40 p.m., the first real jab came in. Aunt Denise. Hey, sweetie. Your mom says you're having a tough week. Just know we all love you, and we're here for you. Translation. We're pretending to care. Now give us your money. I didn't reply. Instead, I pulled out a notebook and began writing a list. Not of the things I'd paid for. I'd already done that. This list was different. What I've lost. 2 promotions I didn't go for. Because I was helping Dad through a rough patch. A trip to Ireland I canceled. So I could cover my brother's car insurance. 6 therapy sessions I skipped because I felt guilty spending on myself. 1 man I loved, who left when I kept choosing my family's needs over building a future with him. I wrote until my hand cramped. The guilt came in waves, like it always did. But this time, I didn't run from it. I sat with it, let it wash over me, sting my skin, soak my chest, because underneath the guilt was anger, and underneath the anger was grief. Grief for the daughter I used to be, the woman I could have been. Around 2 p.m., I got a text from Derek, my brother. Derek. Hey, Em. So, we need the rent. They're talking eviction now. Look, I know you're stressed or whatever, but can you just send it? No punctuation. No emoji. No, how are you? Just assumption. Just Derek being Derek, the same guy who got a scholarship and dropped out 2 semesters in. The guy who borrowed my old laptop and never gave it back. The guy who called me crying when his credit tanked. Then went to Vegas the next weekend. I stared at the text. Then back at the video on my phone. At 0:32. Derek walked into frame. Said, "Why are we even pretending she matters?" And laughed. That's when the shaking started. Not out of fear, but adrenaline. The truth hit me so hard, I almost dropped the phone. They don't see me as family. They see me as a resource. A walking stimulus check. A flesh and blood subscription service with no cancellation policy. I stood up, walked to the closet, pulled out the shoebox where I kept every birthday card, every scribbled thank you, every childhood photo I couldn't bring myself to toss. Then I found it. A card from my 12th birthday. The last time my mom ever wrote anything that sounded like real love. Inside, in slanted cursive, it read, "You're my sunshine. I'm proud of you no matter what." I ran my thumb over the ink, wondering if she meant it. Or if even then, she saw me as a future investment. At 4:11 p.m., the group chat lit up again. Mom, if we get kicked out, it's your fault. Aunt Denise. Don't let one bad week ruin everything. Derek. Wow. I guess we know where we stand now. There it was. The full guilt trip, punched into 3 tidy texts, like they rehearsed it. But I didn't reply. I packed a small overnight bag instead, not because I was running, because I needed distance to think. I grabbed my keys, walked to the train station, and bought a one-way ticket to the coast. That night, I checked into a cheap motel by the water. The wallpaper peeled, and the AC wheezed like it had asthma. But it was quiet. And for the first time in forever, I felt safe. Nobody could find me here. No one banging down my door. No one holding my past over my head. No one expecting a wire transfer by midnight. I turned off my phone. Not do not disturb. Off. Hard shutdown. And in the silence, something strange happened. I missed myself. The girl who used to dance alone in the kitchen, who used to write poetry in the margins of receipts, who once dreamed of building her own life, not patching someone else's. She was still in there, buried, but not gone. I spent the evening watching waves crash against rocks, one after another. Relentless. Beautiful. I thought about my family, about how they taught me to love with my eyes shut, my hands open, and my voice silent. And then I thought, what if I opened my eyes? What if I stopped trying to earn love that should have been given freely? I opened my journal and wrote, "This is the last time they make me feel small." Then I flipped the page and started a new list. What they don't know. I've saved every receipt. I have the full video downloaded, backed up, time-stamped. I've started documenting everything. I've contacted a lawyer. This was a bluff, but the idea made me smile. And most importantly, I know who I am now. Not their lifeline. Not their hostage. Me. Just me. Tomorrow, they'll wake up wondering why the rent never came. What they don't realize is, I'm done being their answer, and I'm about to become their problem. The motel sheets were stiff and smelled faintly like bleach and old cigarettes. I barely slept. Not because I was anxious, but because I was awake in a way I hadn't been in years. At 6:27 a.m., I turned my phone back on. It exploded. 12 missed calls, 17 texts, 3 voicemails. The guilt train had left the station hours ago. They were riding it at full speed. Mom 3. So 1 a.m. We don't have anywhere else to go. Emily. Do you understand that? Derek 3. 46 a.m. You're actually letting your own family suffer. For what? A tantrum. Aunt Denise 5. 12 a.m. Your mom is in tears. This isn't you? Don't let bitterness ruin everything you've built together. Everything I built. She meant. It was time. I took a deep breath, opened my laptop, and reread the email I'd been crafting for days. The one I never thought I'd actually send. Subject line. Let's get honest. I started typing with clarity I didn't know I had in me. Hi, Mom. This email isn't easy to write, but it's overdue. For years, I've given money, time, emotional support without asking for anything in return, not even respect. And what I received instead was manipulation, mockery, and being made to feel like a utility instead of a daughter. I paused. My hands weren't shaking. You say I've changed. You're right. I've finally stopped confusing obligation with love. I attached the 38-second video. No explanation. No commentary. Just the file. And beneath it, watch this again. Listen to your voices. Then ask yourself why you think I owe you anything. I closed with, you may not recognize this version of me. That's because I've stopped performing the version you prefer. I wish you peace, but I'm choosing mine first. Click. Send? It felt weightless, not satisfying, not angry, just clean. I walked out of the motel room into the sharp coastal wind, wrapped my jacket tighter, and started walking down the boardwalk. Each step felt like reclaiming inches of my own spine. But I wasn't done. That night, back in my apartment, I opened up a private Facebook group I'd been part of for years. Daughters Breaking the Cycle. Mostly anonymous women. Most of us were firstborns. Most of us had stories that sounded eerily similar. I posted. I said no for the first time. I didn't send the money. They've called me selfish, cruel, ungrateful, but I feel more free than I've ever felt. Is that normal? Within minutes, replies flooded in. Hearts. clapping emojis. Comments like, "Yes, it's normal. It's healthy. You're not selfish. You're healing." They trained you to believe boundaries are betrayal. They lied. It hit me like a wave. I was never alone. The next day, I went to work. No makeup. Hair tied back. No need to perform. Riley took one look at me and said, "Damn! You look dangerous." I smiled. I feel dangerous. She slid me a sticky note that read, "Keep receipts. Keep peace. Keep going." I stuck it on my monitor, and then, almost instinctively, I opened my email again and forwarded the same message I sent to my mother, to Derek and Aunt Denise. Same subject, same message, same video. No edits, no extra softness. Let the truth sit where it belonged. That evening, my phone rang. Once, Mom was calling. I let it go to voicemail. Then I pressed play. Her voice was slow, controlled, but I could hear it, the fear behind the calm. "Emily, I got your email. I saw the video. I didn't realize you felt that way. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you didn't matter. That was never my intention. I need time to think." There it was. Not a full apology, but a crack. A hesitation. She wasn't used to me having boundaries, let alone enforcing them. She was recalibrating, and that meant she finally saw I wasn't bluffing. But that wasn't the twist. Not the voicemail. Not the panic. No. The real twist came the next morning. I got a message not from my mom, not from Derek, not from Denise, but from someone I hadn't spoken to in over a decade. My dad's sister, Aunt Marlene. She'd cut ties with the family years ago. I barely remembered why. Mom always said she was too proud and made everything about herself. Her message. Emily just saw the video. Denise sent it to the wrong group chat months ago. I kept it. I was waiting for you to realize the truth. I'm proud of you. If you ever want to talk, no pressure, but I'm here. I sat in stunned silence. Wait. She had the video. She knew. She was waiting. Another secret ally. A quiet witness. Someone else who got out. I called her. We talked for 2 hours. She filled in all the blank stories from when I was a baby. The time Mom left me crying in a high chair while she argued with a bill collector. The way Dad used to call me his little investment. "You were never the problem," Marlene said. "You were the target." She paused. Until now. I hung up and sat on the floor, back against the wall, legs crossed like a child. And I wept. Not from sadness, from relief. Because I realized something no one had ever said to me out loud. You can be a good person and still walk away. You can still love someone and not let them hurt you. You can choose yourself and not be cruel. The Tiffany box was still there, still unopened. But this time, I didn't stare at it with bitterness. I picked it up, unwrapped the ribbon, opened the lid, held the necklace in my hand. It was beautiful, dainty, delicate. Too delicate for the weight I once tried to give it. I placed it back inside, not because I was saving it, but because it no longer held power over me. I had said no. I had walked away. Now it was time to go one step further and make sure they could never guilt me again. I didn't want revenge, not in the way movies make it look, with smashed windows and angry screams. I wanted accountability. Quiet. Strategic. Irrefutable. And most of all, I wanted to make sure they never had the power to twist the story again. Step 1 was simple. Documentation. I spent the weekend compiling everything. Screenshots. Bank transfers. Voicemails. Even handwritten notes from birthdays and holidays where they thanked me for footing the bills. Every favor I did, Every sacrifice I made, laid out in a folder titled, Not Crazy, Just Tired. I uploaded it to a private Google Drive, labeled each file with dates and names. This wasn't just backup. It was armor. Step 2. Let the silence speak. They kept texting. They kept calling. Derek even posted a vague, passive-aggressive message on Facebook. Some people forget who was always there for them when they needed a ride home or a shoulder to cry on. Sad. I didn't flinch. In fact, I screenshotted it. I'd learned this much. People who rely on guilt hate when their tactics don't land. So I stayed quiet. Because silence, I realized, wasn't weakness. It was control. But I knew this wouldn't end with texts. They'd need something else. A new narrative. That's when I got a message from a mutual family friend, Lisa, who still lived 2 blocks from my childhood home. Her DM read, Hey, just wanted to let you know, your mom's been telling folks you're having a mental health episode. Dang. That you've lost touch with reality, and that's why you're lashing out. Just thought you should know. I blinked, laughed, then laughed harder. That was their angle. Mental instability. Oh. That was rich, especially coming from the woman who used to fake migraines every time rent was due. I didn't reply to Lisa right away. Instead, I opened my notes app and typed, They can't control me anymore. So now they want to discredit me. Classic narcissistic playbook. Riley, of course, had the perfect response when I told her later that evening. They picked the wrong nerd to gaslight, she said, grinning. She was right. They were used to the old me, the one who apologized before I asked questions, the one who bought peace like it was something on a clearance rack, but not anymore. I booked an appointment with a therapist I'd been stalking on Psychology Today for months. Her name was Dr. Felice Morgan. Specialties: complex family trauma, enmeshment, boundaries. When I told her the story about the rent, the guilt, the voicemail, the video, she didn't look surprised. She said, You're grieving a system you were trained to maintain. That's exhausting work. Emily, you're not crazy. You're conditioned. I cried. Not because I was sad, but because it was the first time a professional didn't ask, Have you tried forgiving them? Instead, she asked, Have you forgiven yourself for surviving the way you had to? That one nearly broke me. Step 3 of my plan. Tell my version. I wasn't going to make a public post or go viral, but I needed witnesses. So I wrote a letter, not to send, but to read aloud. Riley helped me film it on her phone. We sat on her apartment floor, back against the couch, a single lamp casting warm light. I looked straight into the camera and said, My name is Emily Carter. For over a decade, I supported my family financially, emotionally, and logistically. I did so willingly. I thought it meant love. I was wrong. They belittled me, used me, then mocked me behind my back. This is not a call-out. This is closure. I'm not asking for apologies. I'm asking for space. And I will no longer accept guilt as currency. I saved the video. Didn't post it. Not yet. Just having it felt like owning my truth. Step 4 came on its own. A letter in the mail. A thick, crumpled envelope. No return address. Inside was a typed, unsigned No. We never needed you anyway. Keep your money. Keep your drama. Don't come crawling back when things go south. Taped to the bottom was a photocopy of a check I'd written them 3 years ago, voided out in red marker. Petty. The kind of thing a child would do. I almost laughed, until I saw the final line. Don't forget who paid for your therapy when you were 19. I sat back, That was true. Back then, when I'd first seen a counselor in college, Mom had paid for a couple sessions before guilt-tripping me into quitting. So I did something bold. I Venmo'd her $250 memo line. Reimbursement for therapy. No further transactions. Then I blocked her. I won't pretend it didn't sting. It did. Cutting off people who raised you is like amputating a limb necessary. But it leaves phantom pain. But pain isn't always bad. Sometimes pain is proof that you're finally feeling something real. And The next Sunday, I went to a local art supply store, bought a small wooden box, plain and unmarked. At home, I gathered every symbol of my old self. The unopened Tiffany box, a printed copy of that childhood birthday card, the last photo of all of us together, a candle I'd bought for Mother's Day, still unused. I placed them all in the box, sealed it shut, labeled it grief, not guilt. Then I buried it. Literally. I drove out to a hiking trail Riley and I used to walk, found a quiet patch under a tree, dug a hole, and placed the box inside. No ceremony. Just breath and closure. But the past has a way of clawing back when you least expect it. And the silence. It wasn't going to last much longer, because next came the fallout, and their mask was about to crack. It started with a knock at the door. Not a text. Not a call. Not a cold silence. An actual knock. A sharp, impatient rap like the sound of someone who assumed they still had rights to my life. I looked through the peephole. It was Derek. And he wasn't alone. Mom stood behind him, arms crossed tight, her face pulled into that familiar half-smile she wore when she was pretending everything was fine. My body reacted before my brain did, heart racing. Breath shallow. It was like muscle memory from a war I didn't realize I'd survived. I didn't open the door, but I did press record on my phone. Emily. Mom called. Voice muffled through the door. We're not here to argue. We just want to talk. Derek added. This is getting out of hand. We're family. There it was. The mantra. We're family. As if that 3-syllable phrase erased years of emotional debt. I took a deep breath, loud enough for the microphone to catch. Then, through the closed door, I said, You lost the right to surprise me at home the day you mocked me behind mine. Silence. Then Derek snapped. Oh, come on. You're being dramatic. It was a joke. You're so sensitive all the time. I stared at the door like I could burn a hole through it. Sensitive. That word weaponized. Over and over again. As if their cruelty was my fault for feeling it. I didn't answer. I let them sit with the silence. Eventually, they left. But I kept the recording. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Aunt Denise. Her voice was sugar slick, but with an undertone of panic. Hi, sweetie. I just want to clear the air. That video? It was taken out of context. We were all tired. You know how people say things they don't mean? Your mom is heartbroken. Derek's been crying. We didn't mean to hurt you. Please, don't throw everything away over one mistake. I saved the voicemail. Then I blocked her. The next day, the real fallout began. I got a call from Human Resources at work. Not disciplinary, but weird. Hey, Emily. Just a heads up, the HR rep said. Someone submitted a tip claiming you were emotionally unstable and potentially disruptive to the workplace. It's anonymous, but we're not taking it seriously. Just wanted you to be aware. My jaw clenched. They were trying to sabotage me, discredit me, even outside the family. I should have been scared. But honestly, I felt more focused than I ever had, because this wasn't just about cutting them off anymore. This was about protecting the version of me they couldn't reach, the woman who didn't crumble under guilt. That night, I posted the video, not public, just on the private group. Daughters breaking the cycle. Within hours, I got 300 responses. Women saying, "I thought I was alone." They told me the same things. My mom used my mental health as a weapon too. The messages were overwhelming, in the best way, and one stuck with me. A woman named Jess wrote, "They always panic when they lose control. But silence is power. Documentation is power. You're not just surviving. Emily, you're rewriting the script." That sentence didn't just land, it stayed. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like the antagonist in my own family's version of events. I felt like the author. Then came the letter. Another envelope. No return address again. This one was thicker. Inside, a typed, signed document. Not legal. Not official. But desperate. "Emily," it began, "we want to propose a reset. Let's sit down with a mediator if that makes you feel safer. We'll agree on boundaries. No pressure. We just miss you." I scanned it 3 times. It sounded reasonable. But it wasn't accountability. It was PR. I knew that tone. It was the voice of people who don't want consequences, just a cleaner image. I placed the letter in my records folder and never replied. But there was one last twist. A final blow I didn't see coming. The landlord of their duplex called me. Apparently, my mother had listed me as their emergency contact and financial guarantor without telling me. Years ago, when Derek first moved in, I was 23 at the time, still trying to prove myself. I'd signed the paper blindly, trusting her when she said it was just in case. Now, they were behind on rent again. 3 months. And legally, I could be held liable. I sat there, numb. Then, slowly, my hands started moving. I called the landlord, explained everything, sent copies of every email, the video, the letter, even the voicemail. She was quiet for a while, then said, "I'm not supposed to say this, but thank you for the transparency. We'll pursue the primary tenants directly." "You're off the hook." I exhaled so hard, I felt lightheaded. Off the hook. In more ways than one. The next morning, I called Aunt Marlene, told her everything. She laughed. Not cruelly, just knowingly. "They always leave a back door open," she said. "People like that. They never imagine you'll stop being loyal long enough to fight back." And then she said something that I still write on sticky notes today. "You don't need revenge, Emily. You already won the moment you stopped letting them rewrite who you are." I stood in front of the mirror that night. No makeup. No jewelry. Just me. Raw. Real. And I whispered, "I forgive you for all the times you didn't know you were allowed to say no." And in the silence that followed, I felt it. A kind of peace I didn't trust at first. A softness I hadn't earned. But maybe didn't need to. But before I could close the chapter completely, something arrived at my door. A small, taped-up box. No return name. Inside it, something that shattered every last illusion. Something I thought they'd thrown away. But they'd kept. The box was small, plain brown, taped at the edges like any old Amazon delivery. No return address. No handwritten note. No fragile sticker, just silence. Squared. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity, that old friend I thought I'd silenced, tugged at the edges of my restraint. I sat on the kitchen floor, box cutter in hand, slicing through the tape like peeling off a layer of skin I no longer needed. Inside, bubble wrap. paper, and then a worn-out manila envelope, labeled in black marker. Emily, 2003. My fingers trembled. Not from fear, but recognition. That year, that exact year, the year I'd won the statewide essay contest in high school. The one Dad dismissed as just writing stuff. The one Mom told everyone was cute. But not real achievement. And inside this envelope, a copy of the winning essay. My essay. Folded. Annotated. Underlined in red ink. With a sticky note on top. She was always too smart for her own good. No name signed. No message. Just my childhood ambition. Returned to me in pieces. I stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, I smiled. They'd kept it. Mocked it. Sure, buried it. Probably, but they hadn't thrown it away. Because even then, when they tried to ignore my light, they knew it existed. They couldn't destroy what they secretly envied. This wasn't a threat. It was an admission. And suddenly, I felt something unexpected. Pity. Not for me. For them. Because they'd lived their whole lives trying to dim a bulb they couldn't control, instead of learning to turn on their own. That night, I walked to Riley's apartment, envelope in hand. She poured wine. I read her the essay. She didn't interrupt. She didn't laugh. She looked at me like I was the girl in the essay again, eager, bright, unashamed. I wish I'd known that, Emily, she said. I nodded. So do I. But now, I was becoming her again. Not the version my family needed. The version I needed. Weeks passed. No more boxes. No more calls. Just time. And stillness. One day I got a text from Aunt Marlene. You okay? I sent a photo of the essay with the note. Better than okay. Starting over. I changed my phone number. Closed the old Venmo. Opened a new one. Removed myself as emergency contact from every document I could find. I wasn't severing ties out of anger anymore. I was doing it out of peace. And peace doesn't need to prove itself. I found a new therapist closer to home. I stopped apologizing when I said no. I deleted photos that used to feel like proof of love. I bought a cheap wooden desk and started writing again freelance essays, blog posts, short fiction. The first one I submitted was about a girl who learned that being sensitive wasn't a flaw. It got accepted. I printed the acceptance email and pinned it next to Riley's sticky note. Keep receipts. Keep peace. Keep going. And here's the thing. If you're still watching, this isn't a revenge story. Not really. I didn't ruin their lives. I didn't go viral. I didn't win any courtroom battle. But I got something better. I got myself back. And then that's the kind of justice they'll never understand. Because the real plot twist wasn't their betrayal. It was my return. Not to them. To me. So if you're someone who grew up thinking your worth was tied to sacrifice, if your love was measured in money, silence, or compliance, if family was the rope they used to tug you back every time you tried to run, let me say this. You are not cruel for choosing peace. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. And no one gets to define your story but you. I keep that Tiffany box on my shelf now. Still unopened. Not because I can't bear to look, but because it no longer controls me. It's just a box. A symbol of who I was. Of who I'll never be again. Story 2. My name is Alex Grant. I'm 33 years old. Live alone in a modest studio apartment in Seattle. And up until this past Christmas Eve, I thought I understood what family meant. It wasn't about the gifts or the matching pajamas or the cringy carols. For me, it had always been about one thing: showing up. No matter how loud the fights got, no matter how many years passed, without apologies. We always showed up. That was the rule. You don't bail on blood. At least, that's what I believed until this year. I still remember the exact moment I found out. I was sitting on my worn-out couch, eating a half-frozen lasagna, and scrolling mindlessly through Instagram. Outside, the snow was falling so gently, you'd think the universe was trying to tuck the city in like a child at bedtime. My place smelled like pine, cheap pine, from a candle my coworker had given me at the office white elephant party. I'd lit it anyway, because it was Christmas Eve. And I was trying not to feel alone. Trying to convince myself this canceled Christmas was just one of those things families do when times are hard. A temporary glitch. Not personal. But then, a notification popped up. Emily Grant is going live. That's my little sister. Curious, or maybe just desperate, I tapped on it. And my heart didn't just sink. It detonated. The screen filled with lights. Dozens of them. Strands of twinkle bulbs stretched wall to wall. A massive, glittering Christmas tree stood proudly in the living room. I knew better than my own reflection. There were cousins dancing. Plastic champagne flutes clinking. My Uncle Tony already 2 drinks past coherent. There was even a DJ. A literal DJ. In my parents' living room, right where the fireplace used to be. Laughter spilled through my phone speaker. Music blared. Someone shouted. To the real crew. And then I saw her. Emily. Holding the camera. Grinning ear to ear like a Hallmark commercial had just exploded behind her. Merry Christmas from the real family, she said. The camera spun, and I saw them all. My mom in her red holiday sweater. Dad with a glass of whiskey. Cousins. Aunts. Uncles, even Jared, who once knocked over the turkey trying to dance with Grandma. He was there. Everyone was there. Except me. I just sat there. Lasagna forgotten. The candle flickering beside me like some kind of cruel joke. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the plate across the room. I just stopped. Stopped pretending. Stopped rationalizing. Because this wasn't a mistake. They hadn't canceled Christmas. They had canceled me. But to really understand why that moment hit, like it did, why it shattered something deep, I need to take you back. Back before the snow. Back before the lies. Back to when I still believed that love meant giving without question. Growing up, I was never the golden child. That was Emily's role. She had the charm, the looks, the social media following. I had responsibility. I was the reliable one. The fixer. The one who figured out FAFSA forms and car insurance quotes while she was still figuring out how to spell influencer. When things got tough for our family, and they often did, I was the one they called. Like when Mom's immersion blender literally started smoking mid-Thanksgiving dinner. Amazon Prime had a new one on her doorstep in 48 hours. My treat. Or when Dad temporarily moved into a second apartment during one of their silent war periods. Who covered the rent? Guess? Or when Emily cracked her phone screen for the 3rd time that year. AT&T didn't even call her anymore. They called me. I never said no. Never asked for thanks. Because that's what family does, right? We show up. And this year, I really tried. I planned. I picked out gifts that mattered. Not expensive. Just thoughtful. A limited edition pair of sneakers for Emily, exact colorway she wouldn't shut up about in her fashion vlogs. A 6-pack crate of Pacific Northwest microbrews for Dad. He always claimed he only drank cheap beer. But I knew better. And for Mom, a new immersion blender. Same model. But newer Gen PA. A quiet callback. Something that said, I pay attention. I paid for rush shipping. And yet, on December 20th, 4 days before Christmas, I got the message that changed everything. Hey kids! After a lot of thought, We're canceling Christmas this year. Just too expensive to host everyone. Hope you understand. Love you all. That was it. A group text. No call. No, let's find a smaller way. No Zoom dinner. No, you can still stop by for a quick coffee. Just delete event? I replied. Are you sure? I can help with costs if needed. Emily reacted with the emoji. And then she changed the group photo to a stock image of a melting snowman, wearing sunglasses. That was my holiday invitation. A smirking snowman. So, yeah, that's how I ended up eating a microwave lasagna alone. Scrolling Instagram like an idiot. Trying to believe that people who forget you still love you. And if you think it ends there, if you think the real pain was being excluded from some overpriced family dinner, let me assure you, the worst was still coming. Because the next morning, December 26th, I woke up to a text from my dad. No Merry Christmas. No, how was your day? Just this. Can you send over the $3,100 for January? Need it by tomorrow if possible. $3,100. Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just watched them toasting each other on camera while I ate alone. Like I was still the family ATM. Not even a person. Just a PIN code with a pulse. That was the moment. The moment something inside me snapped, but not in the dramatic, punch-a-wall kind of way. It was quiet. Focused. Like a mirror finally cracking not from impact, but from pressure that had been there for years. I opened my banking app. I opened every bill, every autopay, every line that bled my name into their comfort. And I started cutting, but I'll tell you exactly how I did it, and why they never saw it coming in part 2. Because if they thought they could exclude me and still keep the benefits, they forgot who paid the damn Wi-Fi bill they used to stream that party. I used to think love looked like showing up, paying attention, remembering birthdays, helping without needing to be asked. But in my family, it turned out love looked a lot more like silence. Until the rent was due. Let me take you back. Not to the Christmas blowout, but to the years before that. Because you need to understand how we got there. How I became the dependable son in the shadows. The silent provider no one clapped for. Growing up, our family wasn't rich. But we weren't struggling either. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Spokane's split-level house. Patchy front lawn. 2 cars that never quite matched. My dad worked in real estate. My mom, part-time floral designer and full-time crisis manager for our emotional dysfunction. And then there was Emily, my younger sister by 4 years. Sparkly. Loud. And always the center of attention. Even back then, she had a way of turning mistakes into charm. Wrecked the family computer downloading sketchy games. Oh. You little rascal. Broke a window with her softball. She's got such an arm. Me. I got grounded for getting a B+ in geometry. I learned early. In the Grant household, being useful was safer than being noticed. By 17, I had a part-time job and an Excel spreadsheet tracking our utility bills, no joke. At 19, while Emily partied through her freshman year, I was driving home on weekends to help Dad fix the leak in the garage and set up Mom's online flower orders. No one asked. I just did it. Because that's what you do when you're the stable one. But being stable, it comes at a cost. You stop being seen. Fast forward to my mid-20s. I'd moved to Seattle. Landed a great IT job with a small software firm. I wasn't rich, but I was doing well. Studio apartment. Reliable health insurance. Even a savings account I didn't touch. The calls started small. Hey, bud. Think you could cover the Verizon bill this month? Things are tight. Hey. Me phone screen cracked again. You're better with the tech stuff. Could you? Then it was the Wi-Fi. Then the gas bill. Then the insurance on Mom's car. Dad got temporary housing during one of their separation phases. Guess who footed the Airbnb? None of it felt outrageous at the time. It was never a big ask. Just a little help. Here and there. And always with that friendly, family first tone. I told myself it was normal. This was what grown kids did when their parents hit a rough patch. I even felt good about it. For a while, last spring, Mom's immersion blender gave out mid-soup. She called it the blender meltdown of 2022. Her group text included photos of the smoke. I laughed. Sent her a link to a better one. Had it shipped same day. She didn't even say thank you. Just texted back. You're a lifesaver. Alex. Dad says it blends smoother than our marriage. That stung more than I admitted. Not because of the joke. Because of the expectation. It wasn't a gift. It was my job. Silent provider. Emotional janitor. And I kept doing it. Why? Because some desperate part of me still believed, if I kept showing up, they'd start seeing me again. Now, let's talk about Emily. She'd reinvented herself as a fashion lifestyle content creator thing. TikTok, Instagram, Threads, you name it. Her posts were full of avocado toast, and those beige outfits influencers seemed genetically programmed to wear. She lived rent-free in the guest house behind Mom and Dad's place. She was still on my Apple family account, and I'm 99% sure I was paying for half her subscriptions without knowing it. But she'd pop up in the family group chat once every 2 weeks to share some stage brunch or to humble brag about a brand deal that paid her an exposure. And my parents, they lapped it up. She's building her brand, Dad would say proudly. Meanwhile, I was the one whose Venmo got pinged at 1 a.m. with the note just till Friday. I didn't resent Emily. Not exactly. What I resented was this. When I paid the electric bill, no one noticed. But when Emily posted a Christmas haul video with Mom in the background wrapping fake presents for the camera, she got 300K likes and a family round of applause. So as December rolled in, I told myself this year would be different. I ordered gifts weeks early, carefully chosen. Thoughtful. Nothing showy. Sneakers Emily had wanted for months. A limited crate of Pacific Northwest microbrews for Dad. That new-gen blender for Mom. I even threw in a pine-scented candle. Just because it reminded me of when we used to go tree hunting in the snow. I wanted to believe we were still a family. Then came December 20th. The message. Hey kids. After a lot of thought. We're canceling Christmas this year. Just too expensive to host everyone. I stared at it for a long time. Scrolled up. Looked for context. There was none. I replied. Gently. Are you sure? I can chip in for food or travel. Happy to help. Emily's reply. Then silence. Then, the group photo changed to that stock image of a sad little snowman with a cracked carrot nose. I didn't fight it. I didn't beg. Instead, I opened the kitchen drawer, pulled out the gift labels I'd already filled out by hand, and started peeling them off. Something about it felt surgical, like pulling names off a memorial wall. I kept the gifts, all of them, still in the corner of my apartment, under a blanket. Like a burial mound, I wasn't ready to unpack. And when Christmas Eve rolled around, I did what I always do. Made do. I cooked the lasagna, lit the pine candle, queued up Home Alone, and told myself, at least you don't have to pretend to laugh at Jared's jokes this year. I wanted to believe I was okay. Until that live stream. Until I saw that they hadn't canceled Christmas at all. They'd just canceled me. But here's the thing. No one talks about when it comes to betrayal. It's never just about the event. It's about every moment before it, every small sacrifice, every quiet hope that suddenly gets redefined. That blender wasn't a gift anymore. It was a bribe. that crate of beer, a punchline, that candle, a lie I told myself in pine-scented wax. I was done pretending, done waiting for recognition that was never coming. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. That would come the next day. Because on December 26th, after watching my whole family throw a party without me, after peeling my name off presents, and after finishing lasagna alone, I woke up to a text from my dad. Not how are you? Not let's talk. Just this, Can you send over the 3D 100 for January? Need it by tomorrow if possible. No shame. No explanation. Just a request. Like I was a vending machine he'd always known would work. That was the moment something inside me clicked. Like turning off a switch. Or closing a tab you should have closed years ago. But I didn't reply. Not yet? Because before I said a word, I pulled up my banking app. And I saw everything. The rent. The cell plan. The Spotify Premium Family account. The gas bill. All of it. All under my name. And all about to disappear. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. There's a specific kind of silence that happens after betrayal. It's not peaceful. It's electric like the air before a lightning storm. That morning, sitting on my edge-worn futon, staring at my father's text, asking for 100, like nothing had happened. I didn't scream. I didn't text back. I didn't rage tweet. I logged into every account I'd ever opened for my family, and I began unplugging. It felt surgical, precise, like pulling out IV lines from a patient who never asked how you were doing, just expected you to keep bleeding for them. First up, the rent transfer. My dad's temporary apartment lease had been on autopay for 6 months. Every first of the month. $1. 800 left my checking account like clockwork. Cancel. Then, the gas bill for my parents' house. Click. Confirm. Gone. Spotify Premium Family. Still under my name. Emily's Taste and Sad Girl Indie Pop had been hitting my wallet for 2 years. Removed. The AT&T Family Plan. Dad. Mom. Emily, 3 lines. Unlimited data. International roaming. Unlinked. Netflix. Apple TV Plus. Disney Plus, all hosted under my email. Cancelled. All in one sweep. Each step, I felt lighter. Not better. Not yet. But cleaner, like scrubbing years of guilt off my skin. But the real sting was the Wi-Fi. I was still paying for their internet. The internet they used to live stream the party I wasn't invited to. So I called Comcast. Yes, I'd like to cancel the internet service at 541 Avalon Street. Can I ask why? The rep asked. Too chirpy for someone about to take the Wi-Fi out of an entire house. Because the people using it think I'm disposable. I said flatly. And disposable people don't pay for luxury. By 9:13 my family's comfortable digital ecosystem had gone dark. I didn't leave a note. I didn't send a warning. I didn't even log out. I wanted them to feel it. That sudden, invisible absence. The way I felt watching that live stream. But the next call wasn't from them. It was from Susan, at the gas company. Hi. Is this Mr. Grant? Speaking. I just wanted to confirm the cancellation of service. Are you sure you want to proceed? The winter temperatures are pretty brutal in Spokane right now. Her voice was warm, like someone who knew what it meant to feel alone in December. I'm sure. I said. Then I paused. Actually, can I ask you something weird? Depends how weird. She laughed. Have you ever cut people off? Like, really cut them off? And had no one noticed? Yes. She was quiet for a second. Then she said, Sweetheart, if they don't notice, they were never really holding on. That landed harder than I expected. She didn't know me, didn't know the years of silent sacrifice, the invisible invoices I never sent. But she spoke like someone who'd watched a few too many families treat love like a subscription service. Thanks, Susan, I said. Really? Merry Christmas, Alex, she replied. Soft. Even if it's late. After hanging up, I walked to the closet. Top shelf. Dusty box. Red and green lid. I pulled it down and opened it. Inside, a pile of ornaments, some tangled tinsel, and a single stocking. Faded plaid. Slightly frayed at the edges. My name, Alex, stitched in crooked gold thread by Mom's hand. Probably when I was 6. I'd hung that stocking every year. Even after I moved out. Even after things got weird. This year, I'd hung it on a hook near the kitchen. Like a ritual. Now, I held it in my hands. It felt heavier than it should. Like it was carrying every missed call. Every unspoken thank you. Every time I paid a bill and convinced myself it meant they cared. I folded it slowly, tucked it back into the box, and closed the lid. That afternoon, I did something unexpected. I didn't sit in anger. I didn't refresh my phone. I didn't spiral. I took all the unused gifts, the blender, the sneakers, the beer crate, and I packed them in a reusable grocery bag. Tossed in a few warm sweaters from my closet. Then I walked 3 blocks to the nearest shelter. The woman at the desk looked surprised. You're donating all this? I nodded. Someone out there probably needs lasagna more than I did. She smiled. And for the first time in days, so did I. By sunset, I was back in my apartment. No text from family. No apology. No explanations. But Emily did post a new story. A black screen. White text. Nothing like being stabbed by your own blood. Thanks for ruining the holidays. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Because for once, they were the ones confused. Disrupted. Inconvenienced. And I was still breathing. Still standing. Still mine. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because the real shift wasn't just unplugging accounts. It was realizing I'd spent years trying to earn a seat at a table I'd already outgrown. And now I was building my own table. And they were about to feel what it meant to lose access for real. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be fireworks or shouting matches or keying someone's car at 2 Mom. No. The most satisfying revenge, real revenge, is quiet. Surgical. Precise. The kind that doesn't make a scene, but changes the scene entirely. I had spent my entire adult life playing a role. The good son. The silent helper. The human credit card with a familiar face. And for what? A seat at a table they never intended to keep open for me. So, I flipped the script. But I wasn't just cutting them off. I was building a plan. Step 1 was easy. Cut funding. Already done. That was the surface level stuff, the things with invoices and login screens. But what came next required finesse. Step 2. Document everything. I started a new folder on my desktop and titled it Receipts. Not metaphorical ones, literal ones. Screenshots of every payment I'd made in their names. Every rent transfer. Every cell phone auto draft. Every grocery order I'd placed on their behalf. Amazon logs. Gift receipts. Venmo transactions. It went back years. Each file got labeled and dated, organized like a damn forensic audit. I wasn't sure if I'd ever need to show it to anyone, but something in me needed proof. Not for a courtroom. For me? So I could look at those numbers and finally say, you were not crazy. You gave, and they took. Then came step 3. takeaway access. This part, a little more creative. My parents' house had a Nest camera system I'd helped install, paid for it, set it up, even ran the cables through their attic while my dad yelled at the TV. Guess who still had admin access? I logged in. From my tiny apartment in Seattle, I watched a still image of their living room lit up. Post-party clutter. Emily passed out on the couch with a Santa hat over her eyes. I deleted my admin account and then disabled the camera feed. Not malicious, just poetic. A gentle blackout. Step 4 was the wild card. I wasn't planning to respond. Not at first. But after that, Emily Post stabbed by your own blood, I felt something shift. She was rewriting the story, casting herself as the victim. That's when I knew. This couldn't just be about money anymore. This had to be about truth. So I wrote an email. Just one. No drama. No name-calling. Just facts. Subject. Since no one asked. Body. Hi, Mom. Dad. Emily. I saw the party. I saw the live stream. And I saw that you were all well enough to gather, decorate, laugh, and drink, just not with me. For years, I've helped financially without question. I've covered rent, phone bills, groceries, tech, even your gas and internet. I did it quietly, out of love, because I believed that's what family does. This Christmas, you made it very clear that love isn't returned, and that my presence, my effort, and my boundaries are optional for you. So I've adjusted accordingly. You won't be hearing from me for a while. Not out of spite, out of survival. I hope one day you reflect on how easily you cut me out while still expecting me to show up. Take care, Alex. I hovered over the send button longer than I should have. Then I clicked. No read receipt. No reply. Just silence. But a clean kind of silence. The kind you get after finally turning off a noisy appliance that's been humming in the background for years. Over the next few days, I went quiet. Not in that performative, let's see who notices way. In a real way, I turned off notifications. Deleted social apps from my phone. Focused on work. Took longer walks. Ate food that didn't come from the microwave. And then something strange started happening. They noticed, but not in the way you'd expect. It started with a call from an unknown number. I didn't pick up. Then another. And another. Then came a voicemail, Mom. Her voice cracked. Almost a whisper. Alex, please call us. This is all a big misunderstanding. We didn't think well. We didn't mean please call. I didn't. Because you don't accidentally plan a party. You don't mean well while laughing into a camera. Pretending your son doesn't exist. 2 days later, my dad texted. Hey, what's going on? Can we talk? Still no apology. Still no ownership. Just the confusion of someone who'd never been told no. I didn't reply. Then came the twist I didn't expect. Emily. She posted a TikTok. Black and white filter. Sad piano music. Her tear-streaked face filling the screen. Caption. When the person you trusted most turns on you. Family can be the most dangerous kind of toxic. And the comment section. Full of sympathy. You don't deserve that. Sending love. Queen. He sounds narcissistic. I laugh. Actually laughed out loud in my kitchen. This was her move. Recast the narrative. Make herself the hurt party. And all her followers. Eating it up like stale gingerbread. That's when I realized. This wasn't over. This wasn't just a quiet cutoff anymore. This was a game of optics. And I had a decision to make. Stay silent. Let her rewrite the story. Or show people maybe even just myself, what it actually looks like when the quiet son finally speaks. So I started typing. Not to them. To you. Because sometimes the only way to stop being invisible is to tell the story yourself. You'd think the satisfaction would hit right after cutting the Wi-Fi, or maybe when the bills stopped draining my bank account like leeches. But it didn't. That came later when I took the next step. The one that wasn't about money or silence. It was about truth. Because here's the thing about being invisible. Once you stop trying to be seen by the people who refuse to look at you, you start seeing everything more clearly. And what I saw was a family who had built their image like a storefront. Bright. Curated. Filtered. All warm sweaters and wine glasses, and our little dysfunctional but lovable tribe captions. But behind that window display was dust. Debt. Denial. And now, for once, I wasn't cleaning it up. My first move wasn't public. It was legal. I'd been on the lease for Dad's second apartment for nearly a year, even though he never told the landlord I wasn't living there. That mattered, because if anything went wrong, damage, missed payments, I was legally liable. So I reached out to the property manager. Explained I was removing myself. Attached proof I hadn't resided there. Hadn't visited. Hadn't even had a key. And I included the invoice trail to show who had really paid for the place. The manager, this no-nonsense woman named Carla, called me within the hour. "You're serious about detaching from this?" she asked. "Dead serious." She paused. "You're smart to do it. Guy's been behind twice already." That was news to me. While my dad was busy throwing parties, I was unknowingly bailing out his overdue rent payments likely made with my December direct deposit. Carla processed the lease adjustment. I was free. And with that, one more cord snipped. Then came Emily. She posted another story this time, a screenshot of my old email. Cropped and blurred, with dramatic music and a caption. "He's cutting us off like we're toxic. But he lived off this family for years. Projection is wild. Cute. Except here's the part she didn't realize. I'd kept records. Receipts. Dates. Transfer confirmations. So I screenshotted her story along with my archive of payments and sent it, anonymously, to a Reddit thread she loved to lurk in. Family drama. Didn't name names. Just dropped the details. The post blew up. Thousands of upvotes. People picking apart the timeline. Saying things like, "Sounds like the golden child just lost their meal ticket." Classic scapegoat versus golden child dynamic. Seen it too many times. OP original poster deserves peace. Sometimes, cutting off is the closure. Within 24 hours, someone linked Emily's TikTok under the thread. A few eagle-eyed users pieced things together. She went private by morning. But revenge, real revenge, isn't about embarrassment. It's about clarity. So I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I wrote a letter. On paper. Not to Mom. Or Dad. To myself. I sat at my kitchen table. Same place where I'd eaten that lonely lasagna on Christmas Eve. And I wrote, "You are not disposable. You are not overreacting. You are not selfish for wanting boundaries. You are allowed to stop bleeding for people who only love you when it's convenient." Then I folded the letter, slipped it into the old Christmas stocking I'd folded up days before. That stocking plaid, frayed, stitched with crooked golden thread, had seen 30 years of hope, of waiting to be seen. This time, it held something else. Truth. I tucked it back into the storage box, closed the lid, and locked it. A week passed. No calls. No apologies. Just a silent void where obligation used to live. Until one Thursday night, I got a knock at the door. Not a text. Not a voicemail. An actual knock. I looked through the peephole.
It was Uncle Rich.
Yeah, that Uncle Rich. Dad's estranged younger brother. The guy who once got banned from family gatherings for stirring the pot. I hadn't seen him in over 5 years. He stood there in a windbreaker, holding a brown paper bag and a look that said, "This isn't a social call." I opened the door. "Hey, kid," he said, eyes soft. "Mind if I come in?" We sat across from each other at my kitchen counter. He pulled out 2 tall boys of cheap beer, slid one over to me. Then, silence. "Finally," he said. "They did you dirty." I didn't reply. He continued. "I saw the TikTok. Then I saw the Reddit. Took about 2 brain cells to figure it out. You stalking family drama for fun now?" I asked. "Dry." He chuckled. "Nah. Just, I've seen this pattern before. Your dad's been like this since college. Gets what he wants. Discards who he doesn't." He paused. I just wanted to say, "I see you. And I get it." That hit harder than I expected. For years, I thought no one in the family noticed the imbalance, that I was the only one keeping a scoreboard. But here he was, black sheep turned mirror, showing me I wasn't crazy. "You deserved better," Uncle Rich said. "Yeah," I replied quietly. "I know that now." He stood. "You ever need someone who doesn't ask you for Wi-Fi money? Call me." We hugged. First real hug I'd had in a long time. Then he was gone. After he left, I sat with a strange feeling in my chest. Not rage. Not sadness. Relief. For the first time, someone in the bloodline saw me for who I was, not what I could give. But right as I was settling into that rare feeling of peace, my phone buzzed. It was a voicemail from my mother. Tense. Shaky. "Alex, we need to talk. Your father's in trouble. It's serious. Please call me back as soon as you can." And just like that, the game shifted again. Because maybe the story wasn't over. Maybe they were about to need me for real. And this time, I had a choice. I stared at the phone for a full minute after the voicemail ended. Mom's voice hadn't cracked like that since Grandpa died. "Your father's in trouble." That could mean a dozen things: health scare, legal issue, money disaster. But the truth is, my first instinct wasn't panic. It wasn't even concern. It was suspicion. Because when someone's only ever called you to take, and suddenly they're asking, your gut doesn't scream help. It whispers, "Here we go again." Still, I couldn't ignore it. Not because I wanted to rush to his rescue. Because I needed to know, was this real or just another way to reel me back in? I waited 2 hours before calling back. Mom picked up on the first ring. She sounded exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept or hadn't stopped rehearsing her version of the story. "Alex," she breathed. "Thank God. Listen, your father, he's been arrested." That one caught me off guard. "Arrested?" I said. Flat. "Yes," she said, voice trembling. 2 nights ago. It's about the house." I stood up from my chair without realizing it. My heart didn't race, but my mind did. Flipping through old files in my head like a Rolodex. She went on. "He took out a second mortgage last year. Quietly. Didn't tell me. Claimed it was to float the separation period. But he used your name on part of the paperwork." I froze. "He what?" I didn't know. She rushed. "I swear. Alex." I didn't know. "But he used your old pay stubs. From when you were still helping with the bills. Claimed you co-signed. The bank caught the discrepancy. The investigator said it's technically fraud." Technically. It was identity theft. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't hurl my phone against the wall. Though for once, I wanted to. I just went quiet. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. There was a pause. "Because they're asking questions. And if you don't clarify what you knew, it could get messy." There it was. Not a warning. A plea for damage control. She wasn't calling to protect me. She was calling to make sure I didn't make things worse for them. I hung up. For the next hour, I sat at my desk, staring at the small locked box that held the old Christmas stocking and the letter I'd written to myself. I pulled it out. Reread the words. "You are not disposable. You are not selfish for having boundaries." And now I wasn't just fighting for space. I was fighting to prove I didn't commit a crime, that I wasn't complicit in the same system that had leached me dry. I called a lawyer the next morning, a friend of a friend, civil attorney who'd dealt with family messes before. Told her everything. She asked for documentation. I sent it all PDFs, screenshots, old Venmo records, even the email I'd sent them after the Christmas fallout. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Honestly, you might have just saved yourself from a felony charge." Turns out, my dad had forged more than one document, used my name, my credit report, even an old digital signature from a previous car lease I'd helped him fill out years ago. The gall it took to do that. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And yet, I could. Because that's what entitlement looks like when it metastasizes. It doesn't ask anymore. It assumes. It steals and calls it survival. It frames and calls it just a misunderstanding. But not this time. My lawyer filed a statement of non-involvement, attached every record I'd kept. She even reached out to the investigator directly, made sure my side was on file. Then she asked me the hardest question of all. "Do you want to press charges?" I didn't answer right away. Because as angry as I was, as violated as I felt, some twisted part of me still hesitated. He was my dad. The man who taught me how to change a tire. Who took me camping at 10. Who walked me through my first panic attack in high school like it was a thunderstorm. We could just ride out together. How do you charge that man with fraud? Then I remembered the live stream. The bills. The lie. The stalking. That night, I got another call. Emily. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail. This time, no sad music. No guilt tripping. Just raw panic. "Alex, if Dad goes down for this, Mom loses everything. The house. Her car. The business stuff she does on the side. It's all tied to him. She didn't know. Please don't go nuclear." I listened twice and realized something chilling. She still thought I could stop it. She thought, after everything, I still held the plug in my hand, that I still wanted to save them. She didn't get it. This wasn't me destroying them. This was me not saving them. For once. And maybe that was the most dangerous thing of all. I sent a final message that night. Just one line. No drama. "I am no longer available for cleanup." Then I blocked their numbers. Blocked their emails. Took every last trace of obligation and folded it like the stocking in that locked box. But I knew the storm wasn't over. Not yet. Because pressing charges or not, the system was moving now. Investigators, banks, legal teams, and whether I liked it or not, my name was still on the papers. So the question wasn't just what they did to me anymore. It was how far I was willing to go to protect the life I'd rebuilt. Freedom, it turns out, isn't loud. It's not a fireworks moment or a big dramatic exit with slamming doors and screaming matches. It's quiet. Like the moment you realize you haven't checked your phone in hours because nobody's draining you anymore. Like when you hear your own thoughts clearly. For the first time in years, it's peace. And peace came slowly. In pieces. After I decided not to press charges. Yeah, you heard me right. I could have. My lawyer told me I had every legal, moral, and emotional right to bring the full weight of the law down on my dad. The evidence was there. The signatures, the forged documents, the theft. It was airtight. But I also knew I didn't need the system to validate what I already knew. That he betrayed me. That they all did in their own quiet, complicit ways. And sometimes, the most radical act of power isn't punishment. It's detachment. In the weeks that followed, the bank froze the accounts. Investigations continued. My statement protected me from liability. My name was cleared. But theirs, not so lucky. Dad's financial consultant business took a hit when word spread in their little suburban network. People pulled out. Partnerships dissolved. Mom ended up selling the house. She moved into a condo half the size. Emily went on a digital detox, aka disappeared from social media after someone from the Reddit thread exposed her TikTok antics. And me. I kept living. I started volunteering every other Sunday at a local shelter, not for virtue points. Not to post about it. Just because something in me needed to give, in a place where giving wasn't exploited. That's actually where the stalking came back. One afternoon, a man at the shelter, Mark, maybe 60s, sweet but quiet, kept fiddling with an old, unraveling winter hat. Said it used to belong to his son. He'd lost him years ago. The hat was the only thing he had left. So the next week, I brought the stocking. Wasn't flashy. Wasn't even that clean. But it had been mine. Through every warped Christmas. And now, it needed a new story. I handed it to him without much ceremony. He looked at it. Then at me. Nodded. Didn't say a word. He didn't have to. Months passed. Uncle Rich and I started talking more random texts. Sarcastic memes. Beer nights. One time, over greasy diner burgers. He said, "You ever think they'll come around?" I didn't even hesitate. No. And that was okay? Because I wasn't waiting anymore. Waiting is its own kind of prison. I had served my time. The last message I got from any of them came in the form of a Christmas card 6 months after the fallout. Generic Hallmark. No return address. Inside was one line, scrawled in my mom's handwriting. "We hope you're happy." Not, "We hope you're well." Not, "We're sorry." Not even, "We miss you." Just, "We hope you're happy." As if my peace was a personal offense. I tossed the card. Didn't even flinch. So where am I now? Still in Seattle. Still working. Still walking through life without the invisible weight of obligation pulling at my every step. I'm not perfect. I still have moments where I second guess. Where I think, was it really that bad? Was I too harsh? But then I remember something my therapist once told me. Just because someone's pain is real doesn't mean they're safe. And that was my family. Real pain, real dysfunction, but deeply unsafe for my heart, my boundaries, my future. And I wasn't going to keep setting myself on fire to keep people warm who never once offered me a match. So, if you're still listening, if this story felt uncomfortably familiar, here's what I'll say. You're allowed to leave, even if no one claps for you. Even if the people you walk away from rewrite the whole story. Even if the only closure you get is the door you close yourself. You're allowed to build a life that's boring and beautiful and yours. You're allowed to be happy, not in spite of them, but without them. And one more thing. If you ever find yourself staring down a crooked Christmas stocking, wondering if your presence matters, know this. You are not what they see when it's convenient. You are what you choose when it's hard. And sometimes, the real revenge isn't destruction. It's peace. Not anymore.